Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So my section is going to take only 10 minutes. So hopefully during that 10 minutes, I just have one quick request for all of you, that please do not use your cell phone. Just in case if you have any emergency, you really have to use your phone, that's okay. But there's going to be one conception that we'll talk about today, which going to prove my point. So let's see if it's true. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nghĩa. I am the head of marketing at Adidas Vietnam. So naturally, I was invited here to talk about social media. But I'm not going to bore you with marketing stuff. I'm not going to talk about that kind of stuff here. I'm going to speak to all of you here on a personal level about something that is much deeper and more relatable to all of you here. That is about self-control and discipline. So before I start, I would like to have a quick question to all of you here. How many of you in this room are smokers? You can raise your hand. So some of you. So for those of you who smoke, have you actually managed to quit? So you did. Okay. So for example, my father used to be a smoker. He was a heavy smoker, and he managed to quit smoking. So to you, like for especially for those who managed to quit smoking, to you, what is the driver that helped you quit smoking? Is it just, I just wake up today and I decided to quit smoking? Is it that easy? It's not, right? It's not easy, right? So, for those who actually manage to quit smoking, right? Because smoking, for example, right? It feels so good, right? When you smoke, it feels so good. So that's why it's so hard to quit. But whenever you light up a cigarette, right? You know deep down inside that it's bad for you. You know that, but you can't quit. You smoke, day after day, pack after pack. You just keep smoking. You can't stop, right? That's because you have allowed your self-control to be defeated, right? So that's why for those people who actually manage to quit smoking, it's not just about their motivation. There's discipline and self-control as well. So how many of you have actually seen this slide before and the word social media detox? Please raise your hand. So this social media detox is actually a global movement, right? For the past 4 or 5 years, you've actually seen this a lot, right? Social media talks about this. Do you know why? Because all of us here, we are using, phone too much. We are spending so much time on social media. That's why now we have to detox. But I do think this is not sustainable. This is not going to work for 2 reasons. The first reason is, if you live in Vietnam or any country for that matter, and you have a business, let's say you want to run a business in retail, food and beverage, anything for that matter, right? Chances are you need social media, right, to either manage your team, to either catch up with the trends, to either connect with the customers, right, etc. So it's not going to be sustainable if you quit social media completely. And the second reason, which I think is more important, is when you detox something, right? When you detox something, that's because you use so much of it, right? Where else have you seen the word detox? In nutrition, right? In diet, right? When you eat too much, let's say you drink too much milk tea, you eat too much junk food, right? Now you gain weight, now you have to detox it, right? So that means I feel like if we give social media that kind of treatment, right? You're giving social media too much credit. You're giving it too much power. You allow social media to take over control of your life. So now you have to detox it, right? So that's why that's the reason why today I'm going to give you a framework. So it's not going to be, solutions. It works differently for everybody, but it works for me. So I'm going to give you 3 frameworks on how it works for me. So first of all, control how you feel. It's very important. How do I mean by that, right? So all of you here, whenever you go on social media, right? Like today, for example, have you ever asked yourself, how do you feel after 30 minutes spending on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram? Have you ever done that? How do you feel? Because you can imagine, right now we live in an era that we are bombarded with fake news, crime news, opinionated influencers. This celebrity is dating that celebrity just broke up with this celebrity, somebody you probably don't like very much is having a vacation in Europe, etc. Right? All the kind of stuff, right? So how do you feel about that? How do you react to that, right? So usually you feel uncomfortable, right? Unhappy, sometimes jealous, maybe, right? So what do? You unfollow them, right? You mute them, or even worse, you unfriend them, or even block them, right? I'm pretty sure some of you here are guilty of that here. I'm pretty sure of that. But that's the thing, right? So because you allow social media to take control of your feelings, so that's how you feel, right? So for me, so that's so that's very important that you understand that not everything that you see online is true, but how you feel is real, right? You know that whatever that you see online may not be, it can be fake, but how you feel inside is real, right? So think about it. So research, you can read research. Every day, on average, every person uses about 4 or 5 hours every day on their cell phone, and half of them is on social media. So think about it. About 2 hours a day, 2 hours of your every day, you spend being unhappy, being uncomfortable, being jealous. So then you ask yourself this question, right? What's the point of using social media anymore? What's the point, right? So to me, that's very important that you know how you can control how you feel. So which leads me to the second point, which is spreading positivity. You hear this word, a lot, positive energy, right? But what was positive energy? Can somebody tell me something in common these two pictures have? So this is actually one person, right? So the picture on the left-hand side is actually me 6 years ago, and the one on the right-hand side is me earlier this year. So during the span of about 16 weeks during COVID, I lost 24 kilos just by two things, running and controlling my diet, right? So during COVID, I realized something. Losing weight is not rocket science. It's actually very easy. The amount of calories that you burn out, it just have to be more than the calories that you take in. That's it. Very easy, right? But just like smoking, it's so hard to lose weight, right? Some of you here can agree with me, right? It's so hard to lose weight, right? Because it's not like you wake up one day and then you drop like a bunch of kilos, right? So how do I do that, right? So for me, what I did was I control my daily intake of calories to 1,200 calories a day, and I ran 5K every night. And I did that for 16 weeks, every day, nonstop. So I could see the result after 16 weeks. So you see, that's discipline, right? That's that's not motivation. That's not motivation. I was not motivated by anything. My wife did not complain about my appearance. Nobody said anything about that. But I was self-aware that this is not good for me, and I decided to do something about it. So this is not motivation anymore. It's something another level above it. That's self-control and discipline. So have a purpose. So I know that you guys are still in school, so some of you may not know this screenshot right here, but does anybody know what this is? So it looks like a chat app, right? It looks like a messenger app, right? But do you know what it is? Yahoo Messenger, yes. So if any of you in this room, you were born in the 80s, like myself, you would probably use this application during the 2000s, right? Maybe 15, 16 years ago, right? So reason why I show you this screenshot is, I lived in the US for 7 years. And during that 7 years, I only met my parents 3 times, right? And I live, so that was 15, 16 years ago, right? So you can imagine the internet at the time, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Tinder, we only had a few things. We only had Yahoo Messenger. And for me, whenever I want to call my mom, I have to actually go to the convenience store. I have to buy a little card, scratch up the card, and then pin in the number. It's actually very expensive, to call overseas 15, 16 years ago. So my mother, she was completely computer illiterate. She didn't know how to use a computer, right? But now she's a social media and chat messaging app expert. Like she can use any app now, even more than me, even more than my kids. She's an expert. So just to show you, right? Like once you have a purpose, right, then you can, overcome that and you can be master of it. So now you might ask me, so the 3 things I just talked about, right? The first, you remember what's the first thing? Yes, control how you feel. The second thing is you spread positivity. And the third thing is you have a purpose, create a purpose, right? So now you may ask me like, whatever that I'm talking about, what is the connection with the Citadel, right? I am a firm believer that in life, in order to be successful in anything that you do, right, you need to have self-discipline and self-awareness. I'm a firm believer of that, right? It's the same thing, like, that's why people can lose weight, people can, quit smoking, people can, overcome being computer illiterate, can become a master of something like this, right? That's because they have a purpose, they create positivity. So that's, I believe, is what is needed for you to practice the Citadel. Thank you very much for your time.